Okay, we should be live again. Alright. Let's watch this. Because the other one messed up. Alright.
We're all just gonna watch Steph play amazing while the team around him sucks. And how do I know this? Because Steph himself said it. Steve Kerr's flat out given up, and I know that sounds insane, but in 1 week, Kerr, Steph, and Draymond gave interviews waving the white flag. So I want to show you these wild statements, but also why it's a lie. We know why the Dubs are saying that they're giving up, because of a secret plan behind closed doors. So the season started 12-3, looked like Thunder, Rockets, Golden State.
It looked very promising for the Warriors too. Like, they've just been going downhill ever since they played the Mavs the second time.
Top of the West. But since then, they're 8-17.
12-3 from November 22nd. When did they play the Mavs? When did the Mavs Warriors? They played them on December. So, oh my god. 8-17. So, not even December. Even before December. That's crazy. Offense 26, defense 21st. They were 4th and 6th. That's what I'm saying, bro. The first month of basketball, it honestly doesn't matter, bro. Like, just look at the standings now. Let's just look at the... Let's go NBA standings. NBA standings right now, bro. The West, you got Thunder, you got the Rockets. See, the Rockets are still, like... They're still playing, like, weird. They shouldn't be second, right? But, like, I remember, like, the Suns were the 4th, bro. The Suns were the 4th. The Warriors were like top 5, I remember. But it just shows, bro, the first month, it really just doesn't matter, man. Because
only West teams worse are the Blazers, Jazz, and awful Pelicans. The offense and defense have cratered around Steph. How? Well, one big thing is Buddy Hield. Dude looked like prime Klay Thompson.
Bro, everybody said it, bro. Buddy Hield just, he plays good. And then he's gonna flop after.
And at first, hitting like, 43% from downtown. Since then, just 33.
10%? 3-point shooting went down 10%?
3%. For example,
I want to see his
bricked
stats.
2 huge threes down the stretch in Toronto.
I mean, you can't call that. This was stupid.
That last one bricked
let's
watch huge.
This action right here. What is going on? You got 3 seconds, down 3. Buddy Hield, why is he shooting this shot, first of all? You gotta wait for Anderson. It looks like Anderson's gonna set a screen over here. Curry comes up. Probably miscommunication over here, and you could pass it to Curry.
Threes down the stretch in Toronto. I know that last one was guarded, but the first one wide open.
Yeah, that's wide open.
Also, Brandon Podziemski has taken a step back, and Jonathan Kuminga has not taken a giant step forward when he's healthy. Basically,
yeah, Kuminga has been playing these past couple of weeks.
Same crappy team around Steph, who needs him to play like an MVP just to get a win. The other night in Minnesota, Steph played 37 minutes just to eke out a 1-point victory. And anytime that dude has to play more minutes than his age, it's a bad sign. So big trade rumors, right? But we are well into 2025. All of my New Year's resolutions, what helps convenient. Now, in the therapist, better believe the marketing than Paul George over the summer.
But realistically, bro, they were not getting Lowry, bro. They were not. Like, why would the Jazz give up their star player? Like, who actually believed this? Like, genuinely, who believed this right here? The Warriors were gonna get Paul George. Okay, you could say something for that.
The Athletic said in November, rival execs believe the Warriors are more willing than ever to include Jonathan Kuminga in a trade, and one name to monitor is Jimmy Butler. Oh man!
And Jimmy Butler, bro. Honestly, I would stick with Kuminga because Kuminga is. I'd rather have him over Jimmy because Jimmy got a couple years left. Kuminga got a decade.
Then suddenly, nothing. Why? Because after losing in Toronto, Steph said this.
Desperate trades or desperate moves that deplete the future, like there is a responsibility keeping the franchise when in a good space and good spot when it comes to where we leave this thing when we're done. It doesn't mean that you're not trying to get better. It doesn't mean that you're desperate, just flinging assets all around the place. We understand we're getting older and allowing some of the young guys to kind of blossom. It doesn't mean you're getting desperate.
And oh, the reactions. Ring number 5 is officially off the table. Curry is clearly content with 4. Otherwise, he'd be pushing for them to make moves. Oh, but wait until that guy hears what Steve Kerr said. Makes Steph sound like LeBron. But a couple days before, Draymond said, Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, and myself disagree with mortgaging the future of this organization, saying that we're going for it right now. Bad teams do that. Bad organizations do that. We're not neither one. Now, never mind the double negative. I got what he was saying. But Draymond, who is a psychopath competitor, is saying this. Well, Steve Kerr is next level.
So now, here we are, and we're on the decline. We know that. It's a young man's game. It would be so irresponsible for.
But dude, they do have young people. They just Steve Kerr doesn't play. Let's look at their roster. What is the Warriors roster? So they got Buddy, Draymond, Steph, Andrew Wiggins, Shooter, Pods, Waters. I mean, they got a solid young team, bro. What is he talking about? They don't got oh, come on, bro. Stop it, bro.
For this franchise to trade
so
everything away for one final swing at a title. Yeah, I think you have to know where you are.
Oh, poor little Warriors. We were good, but those days are over. Bull. All 3 of those guys are lying to our face. And I don't think it was a coincidence that it all happens within a few days of each other. Here's why it's a lie. First, what is the future that they're so afraid to mortgage? A team like the Rockets have a future, the good young OKC Thunder, the Warriors...
OKC, honestly, I could honestly see them going to the finals this
November
year.
18th.
I know I said the Mavs are going to make it, but the Mavs are playing...
2020 made one of the worst draft picks in recent history. Number 2, James Wiseman, who was off the team 3 years later. They could have had LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey... Instead,
but they already had a guard in Steph Curry, so I think Wiseman was the best pickup because they didn't. I don't think the Warriors knew Looney would be this good.
Bust. Then, 1 year later, they took Jonathan Kuminga over Franz Wagner and Moses Moody.
That's a good pick, right?
Over Alper and Şengün. The
no. Those two wouldn't have worked with the Warriors.
Of this was the Spurs, who won ring number 5 because they found Kawhi Leonard in the draft. But 3 terrible decisions by ex-GM Bob Myers screwed this franchise. Just the decision to draft in the first place was bad. They don't have a future to mortgage because of that. Oh, but if you listen to Steph, the 2-timeline plan worked. Oh, we can't sell off these young guys who are blossoming, which is an actual word that Steph said. Yeah, if the future was so bright, why didn't you extend Jonathan Kuminga this offseason? Yeah, the dude was up for a new contract. Could have locked him in for years to come. But the Warriors were like, yeah, we're going to need to see a little more from you. What happened to the future that you're trying to protect? That got screwed the moment Myers made those picks. Hey, back when they had Jerry West in the front office, they made picks like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But I digress. No, the real reason that they aren't going to make a trade is there's no trade to make. And if there was one, they don't want to come off as desperate, right? So all 3 of these guys are in the media saying, oh, we don't really need to make a trade to protect leverage. And I don't normally believe tabloid newspapers, but this one actually made sense. A source inside Golden State told the Daily Mail, Steph doesn't want drastic changes, but behind closed doors, the Warriors are all in on making something huge happen. The reality is very different behind closed doors. Of course it is. And when Steph says, don't just fling assets around, he doesn't care about the Warriors' future. He cares about his own future with a massive trade down the road. So look at the trade market right now. Jimmy Butler, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal are the big players. Come on.
Dude, they should go after LaVine, bro. Imagine LaVine and Steph Curry.
Got Nikola Vucevic, Cam Johnson, Jonas Valanciunas, Kyle Kuzma.
Johnson, yo. They should have low-key finesse try to get Cam Johnson with Dennis Schroeder.
Jordan Clarkson, guys like that. Steph is basically saying, yeah, I don't think any of those guys could make us a championship team. Even Jimmy. He wants the Dubs to be patient instead. Hold all the assets for a major trade, like a Giannis or someone like that.
Bro, they're not getting no one major. You're not
Steve
gonna get
Kerr
no one
to
major,
frame it as, oh, Steph and Draymond, they just care about the Warriors' future. And Steph's like, well, we have to leave the franchise in a good place, is a lie. If Giannis or someone like that was available, dude, they would gut the whole thing in a second. They don't care. They just don't think that any of these players is worth it. They don't think one or even two of those guys can fix all their problems. They want us to think they're selfless, looking out for the team. Yeah, getting ring number 5 is looking out for the team. So let's look at the Dubs draft assets as compared to a team like the Suns. So after getting Nick Richards from Charlotte, Phoenix has a second in 2026, then have to wait all the way till 2031 for a first rounder. They also have 2 seconds that same year, but Golden State stacked with tradable
Bro. This is it right here. Trade for Beal. Give him what? Okay, so they for sure need. Bro, give him 2027 and 2028. Give 2027, 2028. Get Bradley Beal. Who else is on the Suns? Suns roster. Who's like a good defender? They could look at Nurkic. Cause I know the Suns they don't want Nurkic or Nurkic. Get Ryan. No, I don't think they could give up Ryan Dunn. Okogie's not on the team no more. Why is this? But Royce O'Neal, is he on the team? But if they could get Bradley Beal and Nurkic, bro, that'll be big. Give up like a 20, 27, 28, maybe a 29. They might ask. I don't think they'll ask for it. Give up those two. Get Moses Moody.
Rounders.
Or get Moses Moody.
First outside of 2030. They could get almost anyone. So why not Kevin Durant? I know that he got hated on for winning.
Did you hear that? What did he just say?
Anyone. So why not Kevin Durant?
Bro, Kevin Durant makes his own decision, bro. They're not going to trade
I know
him.
that he got hated on for winning in Golden State, 2017, 2018. But this could bandage that whole narrative. Like, can you imagine if KD returned to save Steph Curry? And right now, the Suns are garbage.
Bro, imagine they won a ring, though, if KD went back. All the Steph Curry Glazers, they can't say nothing, bro.
With no way out.
Because everybody's
and
bashing
remember,
him. Durant's Suns won't sign Ooh, what? When was this? October. Durant and the Suns will not sign a contract extension before Monday. Durant has 2 seasons remaining on his contract and is only eligible for 1 year. Next offseason, Durant will become eligible for a 2-year. Oh. Yo. This is big. Obviously, it's October.
Did not sign an extension in Phoenix last offseason.
And the Suns are low-key bad right now. Suns could low-key blow it up. Trade away KD in the summer if nothing goes for them this season. Trade away, just completely blow up the team.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
He said, no, I'm going to see how this goes. Well, right now it's pretty bad. So the Warriors would get KD for Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, and just 1 first-round pick.
Bro.
It only takes 1 because Wiggs and JK have real value. This would immediately put the Warriors in that second tier just below OKC in the West. But even the Thunder would be scared to face Steph and KD in the postseason. Even more pressure on the Warriors when you think about Kuminga. Because they didn't extend him in the offseason, he is a restricted free agent this summer. That means someone can swoop in and pay him the max or close to the max like the Nets or the Wizards. And would the Dubs match that or have to let him walk for nothing? That would be a disaster. So either trade...
I don't think KD would walk. Because where would he go? He, like, some notable teams, like, if he wants to restart, maybe the Magic. But I don't see him going to like, I don't think he wants to rebuild right now. They already have a good team in the Phoenix Suns, bro. Just give it some time.
Or extend him now. So, no, the Warriors are not done. They just don't see anything that they love right now. And they are going to mortgage that future in a heartbeat when the right deal comes around. But who else is lying? Nikola Mirotic. The entire NBA wanted this man.
Ooh. Nah, we got another video to react to, man. Yeah. Let's see how to destroy a team.
Incoming.
Okay.
Let's light the beam.
The Kings are playing very good these past couple of weeks. They're playing really good. Shout out Andy Hoops. Yeah, Andy Hoops for the video.
Not too long ago, the Sacramento Kings made the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. They held the record for the longest playoff drought in the history of the NBA. For all those years, they were an absolute laughingstock, the butt of every joke, with several tumultuous players that included the likes of DeMarcus Cousins, Tyreek Evans, piles upon piles of useless draft prospects that turned into nothing but role players with short-lived careers, and even an attempt to relocate the team to Seattle because they were doing that poorly. But then something changed, a light at the end of the tunnel. The 2022-23 campaign saw the Kings win an astounding 48 games, their most wins since 2005. There was such incredible attention surrounding the whole roster. De'Aaron Fox winning Clutch Player of the Year, Sabonis getting MVP votes, Keegan Murray breaking the NBA rookie record for most threes made in his rookie season, Kevin Huerter going off for like an entire month on a ludicrous shooting streak.
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. The Kings, I wouldn't be surprised if they could sneak into the second round, bro. Because, like, if we go back to the standings, where is it? Right here, the standings. Like, say the NBA season ended right now. They're the 8th seed. Maybe, I mean, I don't think they're gonna beat the Mavs in the play-in. But I could see them beating the Wolves and Suns play. The Wolves could beat the Suns, and then the Kings would play the Thunder. Ooh. Never mind. Hey, let me shut up. Let me shut up. Unless they play the Rockets.
And suddenly, they found themselves back in the playoffs
if they
with the
go to,
number
like, the
1
seventh seed,
offensive
they could
rating
for sure
in the
be like
league,
the Rockets,
the
not
best
the Thunder.
offensive rating in history. They recorded a 119.4 offensive rating. At that time, it was higher than we've ever seen before, though that number would soon be surpassed by several other teams in the following year. It signaled an ever-so-changing NBA landscape, a revolution in offense across the league, and all of a sudden, the rest of the NBA caught up to the Kings, and their team wasn't so special anymore. In just a few years after their most exhilarating season in a long time, they went from constant chants of light the beam to a disappointing team that's, yet again, struggling to get back into the playoffs. In this video, we're going to take a look at how the Sacramento Kings ruined their team and made zero progress since that remarkable 2022-23 season. What happened
really
to them?
their
How did they become irrelevant so quickly and suddenly?
I want to say they ruined their team. They're still an 8th seed, bro. They're still in the play-in.
Quote, I'm not saying that we won't look at upgrades, because we certainly explored all those options, but knowing that one of our options was going to be to bring the bulk of our team back was appealing. Everybody else is pre-prime or just beginning their prime, 27 or younger. So it's not like, oh, we're gonna bring it together and there's no real chance of improvement. It turns out, improvement is not guaranteed. When you have a young, rising team coming off their best season in a while, what exactly is the best course of action to take during the offseason? Well, in the months following their successful year, Monty McNair and the Kings front office decided to do nothing. I mean, they were over the cap like most teams, so they couldn't sign any major free agents without shaking up the roster. They basically ran it back with the exact same roster as before, and
Which is very good for them because they got 2 great shooters in Huerter and Keegan. They got 2 great supers or all-stars in De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. Really, they didn't really need anything.
On their young players to continue.
Unless they got like a superstar, then shake up the roster. But as of right now, just keep the roster how it is because they don't need. They really don't need.
And develop even more chemistry. Essentially, all of their eggs were placed in their same core lineup, a lineup filled with role players surrounding their 2 stars, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. In theory, their plans seemed fine. But
19.1,
on paper, regardless of how great of a season they had, this is still a team that got bounced in the first round. This is still a team that barely
well, we can't count this season, bro. Steph Curry was playing like a goat,
made the playoffs and squeezed into the play-ins.
New Orleans knocks off Sacramento.
He single-handedly took the Warriors to the...
And they get the 8th seed.
This is still a team that's one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Typically, it only makes sense for championship teams to run it back with the same roster, because they've proven they're good enough to win the title, not a team like the Kings. So when they made 0 moves in the offseason, well, not completely 0, they did acquire Chris Duarte, who peaked in his rookie season, and it's been downhill since then. He didn't have as much of an impact as the Kings thought.
He was supposed to be next up for the Kings.
He would. So let's just say they made no significant moves whatsoever. This was a huge gamble, betting on this core of young players to keep improving. The gamble did not pay off. There's one very interesting thing I want to point out. In both of these 2 seasons, the Kings, despite having a record of 10 and 12 games above 500, they had a losing record against other teams who were above 500. They were 22 and 26 before, which was the second worst record among the top 6 teams in the West. They did have, however, a 26 and 8 record against teams below 500. What this suggests is that when the Kings play any teams that are actually good, they struggle, and their success was reliant on racking up wins against bad teams. It happened in back-to-back seasons, and it shows perhaps the Kings are not as good as they thought they were. In that particular season, the Kings stood still and even regressed a little bit, due to their role players like Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter not performing as well as before. Their ungodly three-point shooting went from absurd to back down to earth. It's hard to expect anyone to maintain that level of shooting on that kind of volume unless you're Steph Curry.
I mean, they just had a great
Their stars, Fox and Sabonis, were still as good as they've always been, but their improvement reached a standstill. And as they approach their late 20s, it's unlikely there's much room for more growth. I've mentioned their youth being an advantage.
They could grow together as a duo. Like, even though they're kind of getting out of that prime, that doesn't mean they're not going to be even better.
But in reality, they were just average in terms of age, ranking as the 17th youngest team in the league. Above all else, the rest of the NBA experienced an offensive explosion. This one season alone produced 6 of the top 10 offensive ratings in the history of basketball. The Kings fell from the league's #1 offense to 13th. Still a decent offensive team, but clearly not able to keep up.
Fox kind of like slowed down in terms of being aggressive offensively and just going straight to the rack. If you guys remember in 2023 or 2023, he was really just like going downhill, getting buckets and just doing it all for his team. He doesn't really do that anymore. You know, he's not aggressive anymore offensively. I would love to see that
with the rest of the league anymore.
After the All-Star break.
Especially since, offense was their biggest advantage before. The Kings, once known for their pace and space, their excellence at getting high-quality shots were no longer relevant. And now they became just like any other team. In fact, instead of having the NBA's best offense and among the worst defense, they became average in both categories, and thus missing the playoffs in a very disappointing season. Honestly, it might have been better to be a top offensive team and a bad defensive team, as opposed to average in both, because at least you'd have an identity and playstyle to build on. The Kings don't have that anymore. Another concern is, well, maybe not a concern, but hear me out. They are arguably the healthiest team in the league. In their 2022-23 season, their entire team only missed a total of 57 games due to injury, the lowest among all teams. In the 2023-24 season, that number increased to 126 games missed, but that's still the 6th lowest in the league. Their stars in particular, along with their core of role players, are rarely ever injured. How exactly is this a concern, you may ask? Well, it's a concern because despite their roster being a beacon of health, they still only managed to be a slightly above average team. Unlike another rebuilding team, the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the injury.
But the Pelicans, man, like, Zion is back, but bro, like, they have 2 great all-stars in Zion and Brandon Ingram, and they're just like wasting their talent.
Used to fall back on, the Kings don't. This is who they are at full strength. There's no what ifs, like, what if Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram were healthy? That's not the case with the Kings. The Kings have always been close to full strength, and their full strength is simply not good enough to compete with the contenders of the West. The organization finally realized this, and they finally did something. Now it was time to act.
The Kings have agreed to a sign and trade. Sacramento acquired DeMar
This was a
DeRozan
good
from
trade
the
for the
Bulls in a
Kings,
three-team deal. DeRozan's going to get 3 years, $74
Because
million.
now Fox gets help offensively. I mean, that's part of the reason why Fox isn't he's not really aggressive offensively. Because once DeRozan gets the ball, like they're both ball dominant players. At least they got.
The Kings realized they needed to shake it up. Their once formidable offense that ran through Fox and Sabonis became very predictable. In a quiet offseason with very few major decisions, there was one player, a former All-Star who everyone has heard of, DeMar DeRozan. While most remember him from his days in Toronto, DeMar's game hasn't really changed all that much. I mean, he still thrives off of mid-range and free throws, his two preferred methods of scoring. He's toned down his number of contested bad shots, but he still takes a lot too. There's a reason that most teams with DeMar DeRozan as the primary scorer devolve into a slow-paced, half-court oriented playstyle, the antithesis of what the Sacramento Kings are about. There's also a reason not many teams sought DeMar DeRozan in free agency. The 2024 offseason was the Kings' first summer in a while where they actually had cap space to make some moves. In order to get DeRozan, the Kings initiated a 3-team deal to move Harrison Barnes to San Antonio. In return, the Spurs helped them free up cap space to allow them to acquire DeRozan in the first place. On paper, this should be a direct upgrade, right? I mean, DeRozan is and has always been a better player than Harrison Barnes for their entire careers. While Barnes had decent years in Sacramento, he would routinely get blamed for his disappearing acts, something that Warriors fans are all too familiar with. Barnes is one of those players
he's a great defender,
who he can play 38 minutes in the game and literally does nothing but cardio the entire time. However, there were several advantages that Barnes had that DeRozan doesn't. For one, Barnes is not ball dominant. He's content with standing in the corner and shooting a 3 when the ball comes to him. He's also a bigger body, a stronger, burlier defender who can legitimately guard power forwards for short periods of time. While he doesn't provide much else, the fact that he doesn't touch the ball that much is a benefit in itself. It allows more possessions to go to Sabonis or Fox. Sabonis is a playmaking savant, a triple-double machine, who also happens to be the most efficient scorer in recent history. Over a 3-year span, he's averaged a
right now, bro. He's a walking 20-20
66% true shooting percentage, the highest of anyone in this stretch of time who take at least 12 shots a game. Yet, that's also the problem. He only takes 12 shots a game. A player of his skill, of his wide array of offensive moves, you'd expect him to get at least 18 to 20 shots a game. Heck, the offense would be so much better if he did take that many. However, that's not who Sabonis is. He's never been the guy who demands that many looks, and sometimes even shies away from the ball, preferring to defer to his teammates. So now, with the arrival of DeRozan, the expectation was perhaps he'll slot in as the third option, and Sabonis will now be taking more shots. And maybe DeRozan will learn how to play off the ball more and insert himself within the flow of the Kings' offense. Neither of those things happened. Instead, DeRozan has the second highest usage on the team behind Fox. He takes the second most shots on the team. Whenever he has the ball, it's like the entire offense stops and watches him.
The second he touches the ball in the post, just get out the way, bro. Just get back on defense.
His playstyle is independent of every other aspect of the team. The Kings basically went from a player who can hide in the corner and vanish for 30 minutes straight and no one would notice, to a player who commands the ball at an exceptional rate, to the point where it's taking touches away from their two best players. Even though DeRozan's numbers don't look bad, in this case, the numbers don't tell the whole story. The Kings trio averaged nearly 70 points a game combined, among the highest scoring trios in all of basketball.
Wonder how much.
Yet their offense looks worse than before, in part due to their reduced three-point attempts. In past seasons, the Kings were top 3 or top 6 in 3-point attempts per game. Now they plummeted down the board. The mere existence of DeMar changes how defenses guard them now. Oh, they know he's not going to shoot threes, so the defense has gotten tighter, so the space on the floor has shrunk.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
makes it harder for every other shooter on the team to get open threes. Both Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter used to look like gods in the previous Kings offense. Now, sharing the floor with DeRozan, they've become horrendous 3-point shooters. It's the worst they've shot in their entire careers. Is it a mere
29% and 31.
coincidence that
Dang.
DeRozan's arrival to any
They were
team
just
turns
at
them into a
46 2 years ago, a year ago 36, and now
horrendous
29.
3-point shooting team? I don't think so. It's happened several times now. It may seem like I'm taking a dump on DeRozan, but I don't even think he's a bad player. He's a great player within his skill set, but it's a skill set that's quite outdated. He needs a specific kind of talent to surround him with to succeed, but on a team where he's the 3rd best scorer, DeRozan is the odd man out.
True.
The Kings never had a weak bench, and their strength in their role players have actually been a huge boon to their team over the years.
Cut. And a fine and one. Malik Monk.
But Malik Monk has
looking
been
into-
playing good too. Like he could get on his own, you know, and he could cut. He just causes havoc. Defensively too. You know, he gets steals. He pokes the ball. Like even though DeMar DeRozan he does stop the play, Monk is there to recharge it.
With their role players are actually quite one-dimensional and have certain skills they specialize in but lack in others. For example, Keon Ellis is arguably the team's best perimeter defender, but that's
And
essentially
he's playing really good this year.
the only reason
As a
he's on
rookie.
the court. Wouldn't you love it
Is he?
if
No,
Keon
I
Ellis
think
and
so.
Malik
Yeah, I
Monk
forgot.
were fused into one player? You combine Monk's offensive arsenal with the tenacity and toughness of Ellis's defense, and you get a tremendous all-around shooting guard. The limited ability of their role players have come to light in recent times. Keegan Murray was once considered a prized young prospect who flourished in his rookie season. In fact, his 41% 3-point shooting on over 6 attempts per game was so phenomenal. He broke the previous record for most threes
12
made in a
points per game,
season by a
41.
rookie since Donovan Mitchell back in 2018.
Relocates. Keegan Murray.
Expectations were high for him to keep building on this, but he never did. When he's struggling to shoot the three, he really lacks talent in every other aspect of the game. You could kinda say the same with Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, I mean,
When they're in a
not ball
shooting
dominant
slump,
players.
they're kinda
They're
useless.
catch and shoot players.
The flaws of their core role players have been exposed, and other teams take advantage of that. As the years go by, it's looking more like the Kings' success in that lone season was simply a one-hit wonder. Everything was going in their direction, from Sabonis' MVP-level play to De'Aaron Fox being the most clutch player of the year, bailing them out so often in the fourth quarter, to their role players going on an absurd shooting streak. Looking back, it's hard to believe this was all sustainable. Their iconic season that drew admiration from fans across the globe faded away just as quick. This team that was supposed to be the new faces of the West, a team that was expected to lead the way into a new era with a hyper-energetic, thrilling playstyle that made people want to tune in and watch. After every win they get, they'd light the beam. Heck, you could even hear chants of light the beam when they play on the road. And who can forget their final beam of the regular season?
40 points? Oh my god.
There was more hype surrounding this Kings team than any other I've seen in over 2 decades. But sadly, they could not sustain or build upon it. Without another major shakeup, it's hard to see this roster make an actual run in the playoffs, or even make the playoffs to begin with.
I mean, they'll make the playoffs through the play-in. I can see them make the playoffs through the play-in because... Looks like the video's over. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the standings. I really want to see the standings. Okay, so... The Thunder are going to make the playoffs. The Rockets aren't. The Grizzlies are going to make the playoffs. Nuggets, Clippers. In my opinion, like, I have, like, the locks for the top 6 are the Mavs, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and the Suns. I think all of these teams will be locks. So the ones that aren't going to be in are the Rockets, the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Kings, and so those teams. And out of those teams, the ones that are going to take the 7th and 8th spot are going to be the Kings and the Grizzlies. Yeah. So the Lakers aren't going to be in the playoff picture come when it's playoffs, April. So like even it's just right now, bro, because both conferences, like basically the Eastern Conference is locked already. Yeah, this is gonna be how it is coming April, and then Magic and Heat will take those 2 spots because the Sixers are playing terrible. 15 for 26 is crazy, but yeah, man, don't count out the Kings, man. 22-20 is very good for them. Like let's see their last couple of games. Beat the Bulls on Saturday or Sunday. Or wait, what? Okay, beat the Wizards yesterday. Beat the Rockets, which is a high playoff team right now. Lost to the Bucks. Beat the Bulls. I mean, Bulls doesn't matter. Beat the Heat. Beat the Celtics. That's a huge win for the Kings. Beat the Warriors. Beat the Grizzlies. Beat the Sixers. Beat the Mavs. The Mavs, bro. They beat both finals teams. So don't count them out. When was that video made? I want to see when that video was made. That video was made 3 weeks ago. So that was understandable, but yeah, don't count the Mavs out right now. And yeah, man, not the Mavs. Don't count out the Kings. But let's see, what other video could I react to? AM Hoops made a video. Greatest team that never was. Ooh.
On average, rough.
You know what? I want to watch Gil's Arena. Because that title makes sense for Thunder. Like, they can't afford their team. It's a short. Let me just go to the short.
Not Steph Curry. You're not Kevin.
BJ's been talking crazy these past couple of weeks. Right here.
OKC is gonna
can't pay everyone. Let's watch.
Fall because they can't afford their team because their team is too good, too young. So that means the fact that they're all playing well, they have to be paid. Somebody has to pay them, and OKC can't afford all of it.
Gil, do you see a world where they do something similar to the Knicks because they rock with each other so tough and to build this championship organization where guys start taking a little less bread and SGA need to be the leader of that move and say, I'm going to take a little bit less to keep the rest of this squad together?
This is the second youngest team in the league, which means they haven't hit their actual bag that secures them for life yet. So,
Facts. I don't even think SGA got his bag yet.
Chet, Jaden, they want their bag first.
Needs his bag
right?
for sure.
Brunson already had a $100 million deal, right? You got the guys who's taking pay cuts, they already had money to do it. These guys don't have money yet. They got to sign that deal, then go from there. This is what happened to OKC the first time. You know, you got KD Max, right? You got Westbrook Maxson. And then Ibaka's like, well, I got to get paid first. They give him the money they can't afford James Harden.
And then James Harden went to the Rockets. Okay, now we have some context. We have some background. We could watch this. We could watch this video. But before I get to the video, let me give my two cents into it. The reason why the Thunder did not pay Harden, I think there were Harden wanted $4 million more or $5 million, but they didn't give him that because they were being stubborn. And if you look at it now, the Thunder they were this close to being a championship team, because if you remember in 2016. They lost to the Warriors because they blew a 3-1 lead. So had KD stayed, or even if James Harden didn't go to the Rockets, they could have beat the Warriors in 2016, and it would have been a good matchup with the Cavs and the Thunder. And who knows, the Thunder could have blown out the Cavs the same way they blown out the Warriors 4-1. But because James Harden wasn't there, the Warriors are the Warriors today. And the Thunder aren't the Warriors, because the Warriors had three superstars and then 4 superstars when when Durant came. What could have been
roughly 2 future Hall of Famers enter the NBA every year. So it's rare for a franchise to draft a Hall of Famer, and it's almost impossible to select 2 future Hall of Famers in 2 consecutive drafts. But then there's the Oklahoma City Thunder, who drafted 3 future Hall of Famers in a row.
That's crazy though, bro. They have 3 future Hall of Famers. They have 2 they have 3 future Hall of Famers now as well. SGA is, I can see him, if he keeps going up, he's for sure Hall of Famer. J-Dub might slip into it if he just like gets a little better, and Chet is for sure gonna be a Hall of Famer. We already know that. That's crazy. The Thunder better not fumble again.
From 2007 to 2009, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden have all won MVP.
3 MVPs and y'all fumbled, bro. Oh, bro, I feel bad for the GM. Nah, I don't feel bad for the GM. This is what he gets.
They've scored over 80,000 points combined, with 9 scoring titles and 27 All-NBA selections. They were supposed to dominate the league for years and become a dynasty. But just before they all entered their prime, the Thunder decided to break apart their big 3. This is the story of a trade that derailed a dynasty and the greatest team that never was.
U.S. District Judge Marcia Peckman was expected to issue her decision about whether the Sonics would have to stay in Seattle for 2 more years. Then exactly 1 hour later, the news was made public.
The NBA will be in Oklahoma City next season, playing their games.
In 2008, the Seattle Supersonics relocated to Oklahoma City and became the Thunder. But apart from inheriting Seattle's history and their 1979 championship banner, they also inherited their future. When Oklahoma got its NBA franchise, that package also contained Kevin Durant, who dominantly won the 2007 Rookie of the Year. The Thunder also held the number 4 pick in the 2008 draft, which they used to select Russell Westbrook out of UCLA. In their first season together, Russ and KD had excellent individual seasons, but the team struggled, finishing with a 23-59 record. On the other hand, that secured the Thunder another high draft pick.
With the 3rd pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select James Harden of Arizona State University.
Nobody knew it back then, but that marked the greatest 3-year stretch in draft history, especially if you count that in 2008, OKC also selected a premier defensive player, Serge Ibaka, who joined the team in 2009 after completing 1 season in Europe. With their core 4 players, a defensive...
They have a big 4, bro. Bro, they went to the finals in 2012 against LeBron and the Heat.
Specialist Thabo Sefolosha and athletic swingman Jeff Green. The Thunder had the most athletic team in the NBA, and they finished the 2010 season with 50 wins. KD won his first scoring title with 30 points per game and finished 2nd in the MVP voting behind LeBron.
2015 was honestly their year if they didn't get rid of Harden, bro. Because who won 2012? The Heat won 2012. Who won 2013? I think it was it the Heat again? Or the Spurs won 14. But 2015, it should have been their year, bro.
LeBron James. But in the playoffs, OKC proved to be too inexperienced, and they lost to the later champion LA Lakers in 6 games. However, with more experience behind LeBron James. But in the playoffs, OKC proved to be too inexperienced, and they lost to the later champion LA Lakers in 6 games. However, with more experience and continuity, in 2011, the Thunder improved once again. With 27.7 points per game, KD won another
greatest
scoring
score of all time right here, bro.
Westbrook averaged 22 points and 8 assists, which got him to his first All-Star game. Harden was scoring 12 off the bench and was in consideration for the 6th Man of the Year, while Ibaka patrolled the paint with 2.4 blocks per game. But midway through the season, OKC traded their 3rd leading scorer, Jeff Green.
The Celtics are about to trade Kendrick Perkins and Nate Robinson to Oklahoma City.
First mistake right there.
In exchange for Jeff Green and Nenad Kristic.
And brought in Kendrick Perkins from the Celtics. Now, most fans associate Perk with wild takes on ESPN.
Like I said, when I used to have to walk in the cafeteria and I had them high water pants on because I couldn't afford the long jeans, I had to be ready to clap back at people used to make fun of me.
But back in 2011, Big Perk was one of the best post defenders in the NBA, and OKC traded for him to battle Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum, who destroyed them in the 2010 playoffs. The Thunder won 55 games in the regular season, which was the best result for the franchise since the 90s and the era of Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton. In the first round of the playoffs, OKC strolled past the Nuggets in 5 games, with 32 points per game from Durant. In the second round against the Grizzlies, the Perkins trade really showed its worth, battling the tough Memphis front line of Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph.
Yeah, me and him been banging a lot. Sometimes we ain't in the play, but sometimes we locking up each other.
I hear you.
Offensively, Russ and KD averaged a combined 50 points per game in the series, and the Thunder advanced in 7 games. And in the conference finals, the young and athletic Thunder were the favorites against the aging Dallas Mavericks. But nobody could stop Dirk during his incredible 2011 title run. Nowitzki averaged 32 points per game with his unstoppable one-legged fadeaway.
Nowitzki, it's gone!
And OKC lost in 5.
Dirk was just on another level with this. It's like the same way Steph was on another level in 2022. That's how Dirk was in 2011, bro. Nobody could stop him. Or he swept the Kobe Lakers 4-0, bro. They just won the ring the previous year. He beat, did he beat Tim Duncan that year too? Well, he beat Thunder, and then I'm pretty sure he beat Tim Duncan. And he beat LeBron, bro.
5 games.
It was just
in the offseason, the Thunder added Reggie Jackson and veteran Derek Fisher to bolster its point guard depth. But even more importantly, they gave Kendrick Perkins a 4-year, $32 million contract. At the time, it seemed like a
give Perk 32, but you can't give James Harden an extra 4?
no-brainer to extend a newly acquired player, who was one of the best defensive centers in the league. However, this contract would soon haunt the Thunder, but more on that later. When the 2012 season started, OKC was deep at every position, and their young stars weren't inexperienced anymore. KD was entering his prime, winning another scoring title with 28 points per game. And on top of his scoring, his numbers improved across the board.
Especially in 2012, bro. There's no such thing as threes right here, bro. There's no such thing as threes.
As he notched career highs in rebounds, assists, blocks, and field goal percentage. Durant was widely considered the second best player in the league, behind LeBron, and he once again finished behind James in the MVP voting.
God, look at this top 10. My childhood right here, bro. Chris Paul. What you know about Clippers Chris Paul? What you know about Tony Parker, man?
Westbrook averaged 23.6 points per game, which was then his career high, and he also received votes for MVP. Ibaka averaged 3.7 blocks per game, which led the NBA.
Feed to Bynum, shot clock at 2. Bynum blocked by Ibaka. Ebanks blocked again by Ibaka.
And he finished second in voting for Defensive Player of the Year. But the biggest improvement came from James Harden, who was in his third season. The Beard averaged 16.8 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 3.7 assists in 31 minutes.
Bro, he averaged 17, bro. What more do you want him? What more do you want from him, bro? What more?
Minutes off the bench. His 49% from the field and 39%
too, bro. 49%
from 3 were and still are career highs, as no bench unit was capable of slowing him down. Harden ran away with the 6th Man of the Year, winning the award almost unanimously. With their 4 young stars all having career years and staying healthy the whole season, the Thunder had the 2nd best record in the West and the 2nd best offensive rating in the NBA. OKC avenged their loss to Dallas in the first round, sweeping the Mavericks with a combined 65 points per game from KD, Russ, and Harden. In the second round, their big 3 averaged 67 points, and OKC easily got past Kobe and the Lakers in 5 games.
That's crazy,
and then in the conference finals against the San Antonio Spurs.
Imagine like blowing this team up, bro. You beat a great Mavs team, you beat a great Lakers team, and you're about to beat a great Spurs team.
It was KD's show. Durant averaged 37 and 5 with nearly 2 steals and 1.5 blocks per game,
bro.
shooting 53% from the
I don't
field.
think y'all
Harden
realize
and Westbrook
the majority
averaged
of those points are 2s. Nowadays, Shea's averaging 30 with 3s.
18 points each, and that kind of firepower was too much for the Spurs as OKC won the series in 6 games, advancing to the NBA Finals.
They just seemed locked in, they seemed focused. They were like sharks in blood-infested waters. They smelled blood.
And there awaited the toughest possible opponent, LeBron James and the Miami Heat. In Game 1, KD continued with stellar shooting, making 60% of his shots for 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Westbrook added 27, 8, and 11, and the Thunder struck the first blow, convincingly winning Game 1. Game 2 was the most controversial game of the series. With OKC down by 2 on the final possession, Durant had the ball on the left wing, guarded by LeBron James. While there was definitely contact before KD released the ball, the refs didn't blow the whistle, and Mike definitely. Game 2 was the most controversial game of the series. With OKC down by 2 on the final possession, Durant had the ball on the left wing.
You could low-key hit that right there. Like just a quick fadeaway.
Guarded by
elbow and ribs. Ooh,
LeBron
for
James.
sure a foul.
While there was
And on the
definitely
leg.
contact before KD released the ball, the refs didn't blow the whistle, and Miami escaped with a win, despite 80 points from the Thunder's big
80
three.
points?
Games 3 and
Oh
4
my
were
God.
extremely close, but Miami had cooler heads in the clutch, and they won both games by 6 points. Even though KD and Russ did their thing, especially Westbrook in Game 4 when he scored 43 points, they were missing a contribution from the 6th man of the year. Harden shot 2 for 10 from the field in both games in Miami. And then, in Game 5, Mike Miller had the game of his career, hitting 7 threes, and the game turned into a blowout. LeBron finally won the title, while KD had to settle for second best once again. Durant led all scorers in the finals with 30 points per game on 55% shooting, while Westbrook averaged 27, 6, and 6, while Harden averaged only 12 points per game on 37% shooting and 31% from 3. Still, despite swallowing that bitter pill in the finals, OKC's 4 best players were all under 24 years of age, and they had plenty of chances to get back in the finals ahead of them. However, on October 27, 2012, just 3 days before the season started, the Thunder decided to trade James Harden, sending him to Houston in exchange for Kevin Martin.
The worst trade, bro. Come on, bro. Jeremy Lamb? Come on, man.
Jeremy Lamb,
James
and
Harden?
2 first-round picks.
They didn't want to give Harden the max. Their position was everyone who's re-signed here has sacrificed a little something, even Durant, even Russell Westbrook, so they were looking for Harden to be willing to take a little less than the max.
Even though some people believed that OKC made a smart move because James Harden had poor finals performance and because Kevin Martin was a proven scorer who averaged 22 points per game in the previous 5 seasons, the general consensus was that Houston robbed OKC and that the Thunder received 40 cents on the dollar. However, the truth turned out to be much different, and OKC actually received far less than anyone could have expected in what would end up being one of the worst trades in NBA history. But why did the Thunder trade Harden and break up their young core? Well, there are multiple reasons for it, and the biggest and most important reason was money. In August 2012, some 2 months after the finals, OKC gave Serge Ibaka a 4-year, $48 million extension. Given the fact that Durant and Westbrook already signed max contracts, and the new deals for Perkins and Ibaka, OKC was running out of money to pay Harden. Back then, the salary cap was maxed at just $58 million, with the luxury tax set at $70 million. Any team whose salary exceeded $70 million would pay $1 extra on top of every dollar over the luxury cap. So if a team had $80 million worth of player salaries, they would end up paying $90 million. In today's NBA, this seems like pocket change when you consider that in 2025, if a team had $80 million,
90, bro, that's still great. Like, you have 4 Hall of Famers, bro.
dollars worth of player salaries, they would end up paying $90 million.
Ibaka might have been Hall of Fame. He's not right now, but he could have been Hall of Famer with them 4.
In today's NBA, this seems like pocket change when you
Famers.
consider that in 2025, the Suns owner Matt Ishbia will pay over $400 million for players' salaries plus the luxury tax. But back in 2012, team revenues weren't as big, especially for small market teams like OKC, who only received a small piece of the local marketing and TV revenue, much less than the biggest franchises like the Knicks or the Lakers. And with the introduction of the repeater tax for the 2013-2014 season, for every $5 million over the tax threshold, the tax rate would increase, costing the teams way more than ever before. OKC management was concerned about having a consistent luxury tax-paying team, as they believed that the salary cap would not significantly increase in the future, which was a huge mistake. So, with all that in mind, the Thunder first offered Harden a 4-year, $52 million extension, which Harden refused, as he wanted a full $60 million max deal. Then OKC increased their offer to $56 million, which further offended James, who considered himself a max player, and rightfully so. Not willing to pay Harden the full max, which would cost OKC $4 million more, the Thunder decided to trade the Beard, which was wrong on so many levels. First of all, Harden still had 1 year left on his rookie contract, which means that OKC didn't have to do anything and could have let James play out the 2012-2013 season for $5.8 million. And then, if any other team offered him a max contract in the 2013 season, OKC had the right to match it and keep Harden. So, if they just did nothing, they could have kept their big 3 and possibly won the title in 2013. Also, they could have used the amnesty clause on
2013
either Nick Collison
he
or
already,
Kendrick Perkins in 2012 or 2013 and helped their salary cap that way. If the Thunder had given Harden the full $60 million he wanted, they would have him under contract until 2017, when the salary cap increased to $94 million and the luxury tax stood at $113 million. And Harden's contract would have been the biggest bargain in the NBA. But OKC completely misjudged the incredible rise in NBA revenue and the huge spike in the cap. And when the 2012-2013 season started, Harden immediately showed the Thunder what kind of mistake they had made. In his first game as a Rocket, the Beard scored 37 points, with 6 rebounds, 12 assists, and 4 steals. In his second game, he was even better, scoring 45 points and setting the NBA record for most points in the first 2 games with a new team. Harden averaged 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in his first year in Houston, showing incredible offensive versatility and the ability to run an entire offense basically by himself. When James played with KD and Russ, his offensive talent was somewhat tamed as a third option, and the fact that the NBA was still running old-school offensive sets with 2 traditional big men in the paint certainly didn't help. But even without Harden, OKC still had more talent than almost any other team in the NBA, and they finished the 2013 season with 60 wins, the best record in the West, and the best net rating in the entire league. And as fate would have it, the Thunder and James Harden Rockets met in the first round of the playoffs, where OKC were the heavy favorite. And the Thunder played accordingly, blowing out the Rockets in Game 1 and winning Game 2. However, that second victory came with a heavy price. After a collision with Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook tore his meniscus and was ruled out for the season. Thanks to KD's off.
He got threats. Like I remember Patrick Beverley actually talked about this like a year ago. He's like people DM'd him that they were gonna K him, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say because TOS. They were gonna K him, bro. Like literally, they said, and I heard that he also said that the cops had to escort him to his hotel and to the arena. It was insane, bro.
And a more talented team overall, the Thunder still managed to win the series 4-2 without Russ. But in the second round, they were easy prey to the grit and grind Grizzlies, who were in the prime of their 5-year run as a contender. In 2014, Westbrook had to undergo a second knee surgery, and he only played in 46 games. But that fully unleashed Kevin Durant, who was now the focal point of the offense, resulting in a career-high 32 points per game and the long-desired MVP award. KD had finished second to LeBron James in MVP voting 3 times, and when he finally won the Most Valuable Player, he delivered one of the most memorable speeches in NBA history.
You went to sleep hungry? You sacrificed for us? You the real MVP.
The Thunder won 59 games in the regular season, and with Westbrook regaining full health towards the end of the season,
the injury report for the Thunder, none. In the starting lineup, Russell Westbrook, his first game since Christmas Day, following the 3rd knee surgery within a year.
They were once again a title contender. In the first round of the 2014 playoffs, OKC avenged the loss to the Grizzlies from the previous season, winning the series in 7 games. In the second round, they got past the Clippers in 6, with KD and Westbrook combining for 61 points per game in the series. However, in the conference finals, the Thunder had no answer for the Spurs and their offensive versatility, losing 4 games to 2. It was the 4th time in 5 years that OKC lost against the team that won the title, proving how close they were each year. And then, in 2015, a complete disaster. The Thunder's title hopes were thrown out the window after 2 months of the season when KD got hurt.
He's hurt, holding his right ankle.
Durant played in just 27 games.
Imagine if he didn't get injured, bro. Steph Curry wouldn't be the Steph Curry that we know today. The Warriors wouldn't be the Warriors that we know today. The Cavs wouldn't be the Cavs that we know today.
It was before a foot injury sidelined him for the rest of the season. And despite Russell Westbrook leading the NBA in scoring with 28.1 points per game, OKC missed the playoffs by 1 game. But then in 2016, per game, OKC missed the playoffs.
Who took it? Pelicans took it over them. Wow.
By 1 game. But then in 2016, things started to improve. Not only did they get KD back, but OKC's front line was maybe better than ever, with Ibaka, Steven Adams, and the offensive talent of Enes Kanter, who finished third in the Sixth Man of the Year voting. And with Russ and KD both finishing top 5 and voting for MVP, it seemed like 2016 was finally gonna be their year. OKC finished off Dallas in 5 games, got past the Spurs in 6, and in the conference finals against the 73-9 Warriors, they had a 3-1 lead. And it looked like a lock to make another NBA Finals.
I can't see two sharks in Durant and Russell Westbrook in blood-infested waters that is the Golden State Warriors. And I don't see them I can't see how they'll pass on chomping them to bits.
But Golden State won Game 5 despite 71 points from Russ and KD.
How many points did the whole
Still,
team have?
Game 6 was played in OKC, and in front of their home crowd, the Thunder had an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and then it all fell apart. KD and Russ shot a combined 3 for 14 from the field in the fourth, with 6 turnovers and 0 assists. In fact, the whole Thunder team had 0 assists in the fourth, as they only made 5 field goals, while on the other side, Klay Thompson scored 19 points, outscoring the whole OKC team by himself, and leading the Warriors to victory. And in Game 7, it was a similar story. OKC held a 5-point lead at the half, but they completely fell apart in the third quarter. And they never recovered from the double-digit deficit they faced, as the Warriors proceeded to the finals, while another Thunder season went down the drain. But what was even worse than blowing a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals was losing one of the best players of all time. And to add insult to injury, they were losing him for free.
You know, Kevin is a guy that obviously, you know, myself and including other guys we all want back here with the Oklahoma City Thunder, but at the same time, you know, he has to make a decision that best fits him.
I have nothing to do with this. This is Kevin's decision.
I'm confident, yeah. Of course, where he gonna go? Tell me. After what we did this year in the playoff, where? If he goes somewhere, I don't know. Tell me where.
Kevin Durant was a free agent after the 2016 season, and he decided he'd had enough, signing with the Golden State Warriors, who had just defeated him in the playoffs. Just like LeBron James in 2010, KD went through media and fan torture, who called him a coward, a cupcake, and God knows what else.
How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar.
He weakened another team, and he's kind of gravy training on a terrific Warriors team.
Weaken that team.
It won't be the same as being the bus driver instead of being a bus rider.
It was like, all right, bro, you made your decision. Like, you got to stay over there. Hey, let's beat them. Like, now it's like, bump that. I'm glad he over there. Let's deal with this.
But all KD wanted was a change of scenery. He wanted a new challenge and to further develop his basketball talent, something he felt he could no longer do with the Thunder.
You know, they want to win. That's the biggest thing in this league, is winning a championship. It's time to get it done.
Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, when he was there, were all players who needed the ball in their hands to be effective. KD and Harden were masters of isolation, able to score against anybody one-on-one, slowly dissecting their opponents before finding a chink in their armor. Russ was arguably the deadliest transition player in the NBA, but he was also able to create separation against his primary defender. And to have 3 such players on the same team is the most valuable thing in the NBA. All 3 players could run any offensive system, but the problem was that OKC never really had anything resembling a system. They had a few plays that they rotated every few possessions, but that was more or less it. The Thunder's offense was mostly about changing its focal point. One time the focus was on Russ, another time it was on Harden, and the next time on Durant.
Keep trusting in it. Keep trusting in it. Yeah. You gotta be aggressive early, all right?
Towards the end of their run, when their lackluster coach Scott Brooks got replaced by Billy Donovan in 2015, they tried to develop some kind of pick and roll between Russ and KD. But if the action didn't go right at the start, they would quickly revert to isolations. OKC managed to acquire the best players, but something was always off, and they couldn't ever function as a unit.
Don't try to pull us apart. I mean, we all in this together. Serge's not on a separate team, Kevin's not on a separate team, I'm not on a separate team. We on Oklahoma City Thunder.
Jordan struggled to win until the Bulls incorporated the triangle offense, and the Heat didn't win their titles until Eric Spoelstra used the positionless motion system that enabled LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh to Spoelstra use the positionless motion.
LeBron tried to fire Spoelstra. if you think about it, bro, if LeBron fired Spoelstra, would they have even won the finals? Like,
Motion system that enabled LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh to play within their strengths. It can't be said that the Thunder weren't an efficient team, but the reason for that was that they were just more talented than everybody, and very few teams could stop their superstars one-on-one. But despite their efficiency, OKC played an ugly brand of basketball. From 2010 to 2016, the Thunder finished in the top 3 in the number of free throws made 4 times, and in the top 10 in all 7 seasons. This was largely due to their stuck-in-the-mud offense, which had no solution but to draw fouls as a main way of scoring. OKC was able to dominate against less talented teams, but when they ran into the best teams that could match their star power, they got into trouble. And that's why it's hard to blame KD for leaving. When he got to Golden State, he finally played with shooters, cutters, and ball movement, which allowed his basketball...
Warriors' offense is like completely different to what we just saw Russ do right there. Like Steph Curry said in an interview one time, he said that the ball is like a bomb, that it's going to detonate in 3 seconds if you don't pass it up. And that ball detonated.
Ball genius to truly blossom, win 2 NBA championships, and become the best player in the world. And on the Thunder side of things, after they lost KD, they also traded Serge Ibaka.
Serge Ibaka, he's 26 years old, he's big, he can block shots and shoot the 3. The Thunder get Victor Oladipo. And the man the Magic drafted tonight, Domantas Sabonis.
Without KD and Harden, Russ was unleashed, and he had a season for the ages. Westbrook had 42 triple-doubles in 2017, leading the NBA in scoring, and averaging a triple-double for the whole season, something that was considered impossible and hadn't been done since Oscar Robertson in the 60s.
What Oscar did with the triple-double, that would never happen ever again. Never in history of the game.
But OKC wasn't even a threat in the playoffs, losing 4-1 in the first round against James Harden's Rockets.
The series is over.
And then GM Sam Presti made another splash, trading Oladipo and Sabonis for Paul George. And OKC had 2 of the 10 best players in the NBA once again. But Presti wasn't done dealing, also acquiring Carmelo Anthony to be
I think this was not good for the Thunder. Getting 3 ball-dominant players again. I think they should have went for someone besides Carmelo. Like, build around Paul George and Russ, instead of having those 3 have their own show. If they got like a defender here, probably like another shooter, that would have been maybe like 10 times better for the Thunder. Instead of getting Carmelo Anthony, who's basically like, he just stays in the post and posts up and the ball, the possession ends. It would have been interesting.
Third superstar. And it looked like the Thunder could bounce back from losing Harden and KD. But the whole season turned into a fiasco.
How do you feel about starting at the 4, or the concept of starting at the 4?
So they were missing a 4 basically too.
Or even coming off the bench. And the second question is...
Who, me?
Oh.
Carmelo never found his footing with the other 2 stars, and the whole team looked like an inefficient bunch of individuals rather than a true contender. The same story continued in 2019. Carmelo left, Dennis Schroeder and Jeremy Grant emerged as young stars next to Russ and Paul George, but somehow things went wrong once again. PG-13 came into the playoffs with 2 bad shoulders. Russ wasn't very efficient once again. And after another first-round playoff exit,
that bad shot, bro.
Sam Presti realized it was
That's probably
tough.
the greatest shot in playoff history. Ray Allen is up there, but man, bro, he shot that, bro. Where did he... Look how far he is, bro. Ray Allen was down here, bro. He was at least in the 3-point line. This dude is... He's like in the other side of the freaking world. God damn.
Sam Presti realized...
And he didn't have to shoot that. Look at the score. It's 115 up.
Sam Presti realized it was time to press the reset button.
I think the world of PG. I think everybody knows that.
Paul George was gone, and so was Russ, the last member of the original Thunder Big Three. For an entire decade, OKC was a title contender, but they were always a couple of inches short of going all the way. If they were a little bit braver and gave those extra $4 million to Harden, who knows the greatness they could have achieved.
Here is Durant for the win.
That is crazy, bro. A 4, bro. That is insane, though, bro. Literally 4. They just literally $4 million, bro. That's all you had to give him. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, man. Like the video, subscribe. I will be live later, later this week though. This was a little short live. I'll get back into things, play some 2K later, but hope y'all enjoyed the live.